All right, back of the pack ultra guy here, and I've got a favorite person of mine on the other end of the call, Henry Ward, an amazing person who I look up to in a lot of ways, and I think has a fantastic story. And so I'm glad that he's on with us today. Actually, my first guest to actually take the podcast from the mountain, which I need to send him an award for that or something. So good job. Um, Henry, thanks for so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you for your kind words, Christian, and thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. This is
Good to
going to
be
be
here.
fun. So I just start off by asking people kind of, where they grew up, how they found sport. Did you grow up athletic? Did you grow up doing sports? How did you find running?
My name is Henry Ward. I currently reside in Chandler, Arizona, and I grew up in Waltham, Massachusetts. I've lived out there twice. I've lived out here twice. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and dive into that a little bit later. But combination of that, the Boston Marathon bombing, and then a child that was in my wife's belly that we couldn't get an ultrasound picture of. I had a kind of a holy crap moment. Like I want to be an active dad, and I'm not very active right now. I got to do something. So I started walking distance, and then eventually said, "Hey, if I could run, I can go further and get there faster." And I kind of hated it in the beginning. It was really hard. I was winded and I was running too fast. And then I had a friend that started running. He started a health journey, opened up a gym. He ran a couple half marathons. We are going to visit him in Corning, New York. And I simply said to him, "Hey, I noticed we're going for the Glass Fest. There's an 8K race. Are you running?" And he said, "I will if you do." I said, "Okay." I've never really run before, so I trained twice pushing Sebastian in the stroller, and yeah, I hated every moment of that, but I was hooked.
I love it. Now, just to provide some clarity, Sebastian is not a baby anymore, so this was quite some time ago.
So yeah, we I moved here 8 years ago, pretty much to the day for the second time, and when I moved, I brought this stroller, thinking we were going to get a last ride. He was 5, thought he was going to get a last ride. He's 13, he's 5'10", 123 pounds, so about 50 more pounds than I weigh. No, just kidding. But no, he's almost my height. He's huge. Not a baby anymore, but when I started running, if I wanted to run, I was a stay-at-home dad. I had to, take him, and we bonded. And even though he doesn't run much today, he does track and field and cross country at school. Doesn't really enjoy it. The option's always going to be there, and we always have the 5 years together. And that stroller probably put 5, 6, 7,000 miles on it, including many races.
I love it. That's so awesome. So you find running, you get you get challenged by a friend to do the 8K. You find your way into that. I know just from seeing social media posts and also talking to you, you've gone a lot further than 8K after that. How did you find the marathon distance and then find your way into the ultra distance?
So nothing in moderation for this guy, for this alcoholic and addict. More and more and more. Honestly, I didn't even know how far an 8K was. I was hoping it was less than 8 miles. I didn't know if it was more, and I was kind of like nervous to look it up, and it was like 5.3 miles or whatever it was. And I thought that was really hard, and I had bit off more than I could chew, and then I just Googled when I got back to my friend's house, like road races in Waltham, Massachusetts, where I lived, where I grew up, and found there was a whole 5K series, and there was a 4 milers, a couple trail races, and then, I kind of hit the ground running. I started training with a couple friends that I went to high school with that turned their lives around, and they got rerouted from the Boston Marathon, the bombing. They were like 2 or 3 miles away from the finish line. So they got to run
Jeez.
the next year. So I'm like, I grew up watching the Boston Marathon every year, as early as I can remember with my grandparents and my parents and then friends. And then I would go in there with friends. It was a big drinking day, party in Boston. But the whole city shuts down. It was a really special day. Yeah, and so I just asked them, like, when's the registration for this Boston Marathon? How do I sign up? I think I can do. I have endurance. I used to be able to rollerblade in Boston, ride my bike, and even though I smoked weed and drank like the whole time, um, I was still way ahead of everybody else. I always felt like I had this endurance gene. So my friend Randy's like, well, you can't just like sign up. So what? Because everybody wants to do it. It's like the Super Bowl of all marathons. Okay, so what do I do? He's like, you got to qualify, huh? So basically, I started running in May of 2013, and this is like, let's just say like July of the same year, a few months later, and I'm asking him these questions. I had just signed up for the Boston Half Marathon, which I thought was a big deal, and that was going to be in October, and they would have had to qualify by mid-September, running a qualifying marathon. I'm like, I haven't run a half yet. How am I going to do a full? So he said you can try and run for a charity, and they were asking for like $10,000 to raise. So I applied to a few, but since the bombing and everything else, everybody wanted to run Boston. All these new runners and just people from the past. It was an opportunity, and I didn't get in. I didn't get in on a charity bib either. So as the story goes, I signed up for the Pittsburgh Marathon by mistake. The Boston applications, it took me 45 minutes. I had to write an essay and sell myself. The Pittsburgh Marathon was probably less than 3 minutes, and after I hit submit, I got like the page refreshed and said, "Congratulations, you're running the 2014 Dick's Sporting Goods Pittsburgh Marathon." Like, all
Right
right,
on.
so yeah, so it was on. So I got to train with them and a few other people on the Boston course, and got all my longins with them and pick their brains. And I was hooked on marathons. Each distance is pretty hard, but it hasn't been as hard as I thought it would be. So I grew up watching the Boston Marathon and watching like the back of the Packers, the charity runners, their legs seizing up, them collapsing, them crawling up Heartbreak Hill, the hills of Newton towards the end of the course. And I thought that would happen to me. And it didn't. I had a hard time, but it still wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. It was manageable. And then I did a couple marathons that year. I did three. And then I found out about like marathon maniacs, like people that did 50 states. Like, oh, that's all or nothing. That's what I want to do. I want to do 50 states. Oh, there's a marathon in London. There's one in Tokyo. Oh, there's the Great Wall. Oh, I want to do that one too. So I started making a bucket list thing, and the following year I had signed up for like 8 marathons. Then I found out I kept hearing about this ultra marathon thing. So I'm like, why would it's more than anything more than a traditional 26.2 miles of a marathon. Why would anybody want to do more than a marathon? And I'm like, wait a minute, there's got to be a progression. I thought that was hard but manageable. I'll sign up for something. So I kind of found out about this ultra sign up website. I don't know if you ever heard of that. And there was a free, someone posted like on a Saturday morning, a free ultra marathon. It was like 54 miles in New Hampshire, drivable. And I just hopped on and I'm like, free is good. And I hit submit. And I'm like, oh crap. I looked at the calendar. It was 2 weeks after the Pittsburgh Marathon the following year that I'd already signed up for. I was raising funds for. How am I going to do that? And then I got an injury.
Oh,
Yeah, so like, I got I got a bunch of other marathons to do and 5K, all the local 5Ks. I was still doing that circuit. I was really involved in the community there. Um, how am I going to pull this off? And so somebody said something to me that stuck. They said ultra running is kind of like practice running tired. You want to train tired. So I had to get kind of creative. I started cross training because I kept getting injured. I started, late in my life. I was 43 years when I started, 43 years old when I started running, and then, like I said, hit the ground running. It was all or nothing, and I started getting these weird, like little nerve and ligament injuries, and so I started cross training more. I signed up for a gym and I started doing spin class. I started riding my mountain bike more and running less. I had all this money invested in races. I'm like, I got to do them. And I want to do them. So I got healthy and I would like run 7 or 8 miles to the gym and then do the spin class and then kind of run 7 or 8 miles home. So I was always like mentally and physically tired, right? Pushing through after a hard session in the spin class. Or I'd do legs and then go for a run. Not fast, not hard, just practicing running on tired legs. I would get up early in the morning. I'd get up at 3 in the morning before work and like run around where I was living up in Chelmsford, Mass. Before everybody else got up. I really started just honing into that. And every Wednesday I would leave my car on Tuesday at my parents' house in Waltham, Massachusetts, and get a ride home for my wife. And I did like 10 or 11 weeks in a row in the summer. I would run from home to my parents' house and have like a protein drink and food and a shower and then go to work. I work like a couple miles away from there. So it was anywhere between 20 and then it became, I got to do 26 miles. So I would do like a marathon every Wednesday during the summer and really started developing this endurance thing and really liking it. And then signed up for another 50 miler. So the ultra marathon I did was in May. It was really hard and long. It took me 14 and a half hours or so to do 50 something miles. And you had to go up and over a few mountains, and it was mostly roads, but a few mountains. It was really hard, but again, manageable. Signed up for another one. I did Badwater Cape Fear in North Carolina. I did really well in that. That's when I really started honing in on my nutrition and actually eating whole food as opposed to like gummy worms and just liquid calories. That was a game changer for me. I think I finished eighth out of like 400 people or something, and there was a lot of better athletes there than me, and that really was good for my confidence. I was really nervous about that one because I looked at the list of people that were running, and I shouldn't have because you can only compete against yourself. I could knock them down, elbow them along the way or whatever, but all I can control is what I can do. And so that's what I did. I did well. I ate and pushed myself and did well. And then I found out about this race called the Javelina 100. I don't know if you heard of that one, but that is a 100K or a
Yeah.
100 miler. And I decided to, so I did it. I did a couple 50 milers, then jumped up to the 100. And living in Massachusetts, you can't really train for the heat in Arizona. And I had lived out here before, and we did a family vacation out here. It's more or less a runcation, but the topic came up about possibly moving out here. And then after I had finished it, it was hard too. It was hot. It was difficult. But I finished it after the smoke cleared. I had a conversation with my wife about, it'd be cool to do this all the time because when I lived out here before, I was drinking and I didn't do any exercise. I was a totally different person. And so at least we started talking about that. Um, and then I had signed up for a stage race in Patagonia. It was 250 kilometers, 155 miles. And I wanted to do you want me to keep going with the ultramarathon stuff?
Yeah,
I,
let's
okay,
keep going where you are now.
Okay,
Absolutely.
timeline wise, I decided that in 2016 I was going to do a Boston double, like a Boston Marathon double, meaning start at the finish line and go to the start line, turn around and go to the finish line. And I did that, and that was way, way more than I could handle at the time. It was really hard. It was like pouring rain out. It was
Wow.
freaking miserable. Like, I am never doing this again. Never doing this distance. Never, never, never. There was on the way back, even going on the downhill, it was some walking and a lot of swearing and stuff. And I had heard about someone had told me about David Clark, who passed away. He was ended up being a mentor to me. He was in recovery. He did what was called the Boston Marathon Quad. I'm like, holy shit, four times. So it's four times. So you start at the finish line, go to the start, to the finish, to the start, and then the fourth marathon is like the official marathon. I'm like, yeah, no, I would never do that. And then I was going to personal training school in Waltham, Massachusetts, where I was living, where I grew up, and we had a snow day. So I went out into the course and I said, I'll go for a long run. I got 6 hours of time. I'll just go out and go for a run in the snow. So I went out to the Boston course and I started thinking about the quad thing. And then a four of like clubs, a playing card, like blew like over the snow onto my foot and was facing up. So I picked that card up. I'm like, that's a sign. I got to do this. So I took a
Whoa.
picture. I took a picture and like made like a Facebook post to hold myself accountable. So I ended up doing it. I didn't qualify for the Boston Marathon yet, so I ended up doing it like 2 weeks before, and because I don't want to interfere with that, take away from the people that were running it. And we had a nor'easter. It went from like rain to freezing rain to possibly a storm to like a major storm that came through and ran in the snow. It was like 24 hours of freezing rain, snow, and everything like that. It was a real suffer fest. But each time you do these things, when you push through, you learn a lot about yourself, or you learn little tricks what to do, like the hand dryers, like in the bathrooms of Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's, work really well when your gloves are soaking wet. You just stick them up underneath there, and your hat or whatever. Yeah, I utilized whatever resources I could, and learned a lot about myself and about running and about eating, and good opportunity to try different things. And there was probably 30, 40 people that did different legs of it too. And we built community. We talked about recovery. We talked about our struggles in life and solutions and that type of stuff. And so that was really the first real major fundraiser type thing I did. I raised funds for people that were struggling with addiction, to afford treatment. And then I was kind of hooked on doing like the fundraising thing. I ended up doing a 24-hour track run. Same thing, raise money. That was kind of a last
Wow.
hurrah, like a going away thing before I came out here to look for work and move out to Arizona. I felt bad because so many people wanted to be part of that Boston Quad thing. The weather was so bad, people couldn't find us, so they just didn't go out. So the track was a good venue because they couldn't miss us. There he is again, there he is. And I could set up, an aid station and no problem, bring all my stuff. My car was right there. So yeah, and then I moved to Arizona in May of 2017, and before I moved, I broke my ankle. So I had to drive cross country with a broken ankle. And once I got better, it got better. I decided to do a 24-hour run around Tempe Town Lake, and it'd be a good opportunity to meet a bunch of the runners out here. Some of which I was friends with on Facebook, but then I ended up meeting like a lot of new people too. Um, yeah, and that was super cool. So that was kind of my intro to Arizona, and then I did Javelina 100 again. No, I didn't do Javelina 100. I paced because I did that stage race, and then yeah, I've done Javelina 100 a few times. I did Cocodona 250. One year I didn't finish. One year I finished. I've
Yeah.
yeah, I've learned to suffer better. I've done a couple things called Satan Sidewalk. I don't know if you heard about that, but it's a
No, what's that?
66.6 hour treadmill event. So you get as many miles or as little miles as you want on a treadmill,
Oh my
basically in like
gosh.
three days. So yeah, I ended up getting 251 miles one year. So like, almost 80 miles a day or something like that.
Holy cow.
And that teaches you to stay in the moment. Like you're going nowhere fast, right? But same thing, I brought another treadmill, put it next to mine, and people came over and, just eating a lot of food and sharing a lot of conversation with people. And when you're running with somebody, it doesn't matter if you're running in place, you're running on the trails, you're running on the roads or whatever, the time does go by faster. And I had people with me most of the time. I did it for 3 years. Um, it's like if you say this sucks, I hate this, I don't want to do this. It doesn't matter if it's a 5K, a half marathon, a full marathon, or Satan Sidewalk or whatever. Um, you're not going to have a good time. You're not going to do well. You might quit. You know, I hate my boss. I don't want to go to work today. Uh, Whatever. Like you're not going to have a good day at work. So I just kind of convinced myself that this is what I'm going to do. It's not fun. I'd rather be outdoors. I don't want to be on a treadmill. I don't really enjoy running on a treadmill. It beats you up too, by the way, all that repetition. Um, but I was forcing myself to do something I didn't want to do, and I can apply it to different things in life too, such as the dishes or washing the toilet or picking up dog crap or going to the outlets or going to the mall or something like that I don't enjoy. Sorry, honey, if you're going to listen to this. But no, she knows. My wife. So yeah, I just found that I really like. I've done like 6 or 7 Boston quads, 5 Mesa, 1 Arizona rock and roll. I really enjoy like running with the community, like that. Those events have brought people. It brings out really cool people. I like that distance. Um, I would argue that it's easier than a 5K. It's just longer because you're pushing really hard to 5K. If you just find that sweet spot and just kind of go, it can be meditative and it can be therapeutical mentally, spiritually, physically. Um, yeah, I've just really enjoyed the longer distances.
Right on. And you've mentioned a few times being in recovery and going through that. I've noticed that a lot of people find endurance sports through recovery or after addiction. Um, what uh, what do you think that is? I think I've seen that quite a bit. Is it just another way to channel all that energy that we have, or what do you think the reason for that is?
Yeah, so there's a number of things, people that have addiction to alcohol, to drugs, or to whatever it is, sex, gambling, they're trying to fill like a void, right? They're trying to escape something, whether it's a childhood trauma or whatever, just something. There's a void inside. So I found that I was missing something. I went to therapy after I got sober. I was happy and I was going to meetings and things were getting better. But I still had something missing. So I went to therapy and the guy's like, after like 4 to 5 sessions, like, you're an adrenaline junkie. Like you got to feed that whatever. Like you got all this energy built up inside of you. You need to find an outlet. Like what'd you used to do? Like, well, I used to go to rock concerts. I used to rollerblade. I used to ride my bike a lot. But I'm tired of doing that. I don't have anybody to do it. I was tired of doing it alone. I need something different. He's like, well, like, why don't you said you like hockey, why don't you find like a hockey league or flag football or something? Like, yeah, I will, but I couldn't. And I just kind of, I stumbled across, I don't know if running found me or I found running, right? Did it choose me? Did I choose it? It was just the right time, and it just kind of fell into place when I asked my friend that question. Um, and I was instantly like, this is what I've been missing. This is the void. I can fill this void with this. It makes me feel like myself. I feel satisfied. I feel calm. Like I go for a run, I come back, and my problems, they're still there. Just perspective switch. They just seem smaller and more manageable.
I like
Sometimes
that.
my wife will, she used to say, you need to go for a walk or a run. You're just off. um, yeah, okay. Out the door I go.
Yeah. I've seen a few times you post about a book that you've written. Can you speak on that for a sec?
Yeah, sure. So I wrote 4 books, but the first one I wrote was called Running Without the Devil. So the devil was like kind of who I used to be, or the devil could be alcohol. There was a thing called COVID-19. I don't know if you heard of that, like if that affected you or anything. It was back like really like during 2020 into 2021. So I was a chef by trade, and I was a food service director at Nationwide Insurance, and I was laid off, and then gave him a severance package. And so, like, oh, great, this is awesome. I finally have the time to do a lot of the things that I just complained I didn't have the time to do, including running, spending time with family, and writing a book. I had started the book back in 2017 when I was laid up after the first Boston Marathon quad in Mexico. I had 2 injuries. They were both swollen feet. It was called overuse. So I was sitting there in my wife's kitchen, like with my phone and my little laptop, and I started at least making bullet points of things I wanted to write about. And the idea behind the book was to give back and to help people, to give people, I'm not a therapist or anything like that, but I could just share my story, what works for me, and how, the early signs of addiction that I blatantly ignored, eventually hitting rock bottom, going to treatment, how treatment helped me and saved my life, the tough love my wife gave me, and then eventually how I found running and how running helped me. So yeah, it talks about how my alcoholism progressed, and then it talks about how my running progressed too. Yeah, so it's called Running Without the Devil. It's on Amazon, and I wrote a book called 1 Inch at a Time. That's about as fast as I was moving sometimes during Cocodona, but each step is like close to the finish line or the aid station. And, like people say, how are you going to feel tonight? Or how are you going to feel tomorrow? How are you going to feel on day 3? How are you going to feel in Sedona? I don't know. Right now, I feel pretty good. I'm going to stay in the moment. So I just try to tell people to run the mile you're on, stay in the moment, and just, like my plan with my team was like just get from point A to point B. Like we did a Zoom call first, and it was like I just need to get from one aid station to the next. I can't worry about 250 something miles. I just need to, like, what do I need now, and let's troubleshoot things on the go. So it was a book about that. About each section had a chapter, and I told one of my friends, the mentor, it's like, well, there you go. Like each section has a chapter. Put those chapters together and put it in a book. So We did the mini Dona, like 105 miles of the course, and then my attempt in 2021, and then finally 2022. So I just recapped all that. It was one big like race report, and I tied in recovery, and I wrote a children's book called One Too Many Donuts, trying to teach kids about addiction. How there's addiction to cell phones, to donuts, to fast food, to TV, to apps, to whatever alcohol and illicit drugs, and how you can kind of curb your appetite by running, by fitness, MMA. Yeah, I feel like you have to do something. It doesn't have to be running. It could be tiddlywinks or checkers or chess or tennis or pickleball or hiking or whatever. But you need to keep busy. You can't just in the screen all the time or eating junk food or donuts or candy or whatever. And then I wrote a book called Recovery Toolbox, just showing people that there's more ways to recover than just traditionally going to treatment or just doing AA or just white knuckling it. Um, yeah. So, and I have a few other projects going on now, just on the side.
That's
So yeah,
awesome.
so COVID gave me the time to do a lot of the things that I kind of complained I didn't have time to do, including writing.
Yeah, we definitely had the gift of time during that period of our lives, that's for sure.
And it changed me too. Like that forced change changed me. It changed. I changed careers. I changed, my outlook. I changed perspective and different things too. And it made our family stronger. It brought us closer together, which was cool.
Right on. So, what I think is really neat about you, Henry, is I've talked to you a few times, and we've met up, or just scheduling this now, and you've said something to the extent of, "Hey, I've got to get going because I have a guided hike, or I'm meeting some friends, I'm showing some friends around." I think you're like the Arizona trail guide for a lot of people, like taking people out and showing them around. I think that's a neat part about your outlook is you want to be around people, you want to help people, and even if it's just, hey, let me show you these trails, let me expose you to what I love. I think that's really an admirable quality.
So thank you.
How did you
I
find your
think it's
way
an
into being the Arizona tour guide?
yeah. So it kind of happened by mistake. Well, I would say I manifested it. Yeah. But some people might think I'm weird just throwing that term around. But I literally was like, God, universe, I don't freaking want to be in the food service industry like the plan was. I went to personal training school. I was going to move cross country and just dive right into fitness. But moving a family across country, it's a little bit risky, and I had to go back into the food service, at least for the meanwhile, to pay the bills, to transition over here. Um, yeah, so the forced change happened in COVID, and I'm like, that's it. I don't want to do what I'm doing anymore. I wasn't happy before in the food service. Life's too short, right? Um, but if I have a culinary degree, I can't be a police officer. I can't be an accountant. I went down the rabbit hole of like, imposter syndrome. Like I can't even be a cashier. I can't do this. I can't. All I can do is culinary. I'm stuck. I'm screwed for life. So that's the way my brain went. And I said, that's nonsense. Like people told me, like you have managerial skills. You can manage a warehouse. Da 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 da. And so, I got my confidence back up a little bit, but still, like, all right, what do I look for? I go on Indeed. Like, what am I searching for here? What am I searching for? So I just put keywords in there and I wasn't getting anywhere. So I literally said like, universe, God, like, please provide for me something I can help people, something I'd be good at, something I'd enjoy, um, to make money, to pay the bills. And like later on in the day, this woman posted something on Facebook and like, hey, endurance friends, um, I have a guiding company. We do mountain bike and hiking and sometimes running tours here in the Sonoran Desert, and I need guides. We were closed like everybody else due to COVID-19, and I'm sold out November, December, January, February, and I need guides. So inquire within, like, what
Wow.
do I need to know? Yeah, so she's like, you need an extensive knowledge about Phoenix and Tempe and Scottsdale and Arizona. You need a medical background. I'm like, oh shit. Like I have to put like a tourniquet on somebody. I'm not a doctor, but that's the way it sounded to me. That's the way it came out. And more imposter syndrome. You need to know about the floral and the fauna. I'm like, I know about snakes and coyotes. I can learn some of this stuff, and then you need to have the endurance. Oh, check this out. I wrote down the endurance, the definition. Uh, Number one, suffer something painful or difficult, and then in parentheses, patiently. Like I've done that before, and then remain in existence to last. Like I have those qualities. I've done long races. I have endurance. Check the box. And then she said you need to be able to talk to people from around the country and around the world. Like I've been doing that for 50 years. I can do this. I'm willing to learn the rest of this stuff. So I shadowed a couple other guides, a couple other group hikes, and it was a good fit for me and apparently a good fit for them. So I started in November 2021 taking people out on tours. And in the beginning, it was like, all right, I got to come up with like a spiel. But, I learned, back in 2017 when I started really diving into this ultra thing and like the news, I was doing a lot of news interviews and I was kind of terrified of public speaking. Like, look, I don't have anything to hide. I don't have any shame in my recovery and my alcoholism. I didn't want to be the way I was. And someone told me, just speak from the heart, and your passion will come through. So that's kind of what I did. Like, I don't come right out and tell people like on the tour. It's not really appropriate. Like, hi, I'm Henry, and I'm an alcoholic. That's how we introduce ourselves in an AA meeting. It's not really appropriate. It's not my company and it's not appropriate. But if it comes up, some people have shared with me like, yeah, I'm in recovery from addiction. Like, so am I. I'm not going to bring it up first. But I customize each tour. They'll ask where I'm from. Did I grow up here? And so we end up having especially with smaller groups, one, two, or four people, personal conversations that hopefully they'll remember forever, and I remember a lot of them too. And you make that connection, and I get to tell them about the creosote and the saguaro cactus and Camelback Mountain and rattlesnakes and coyotes and Gila monsters and ASU, whatever it is we come across on our adventure. The 2 hours or 3 hours we spend on the trail, and we end up bonding and um, have a great experience 99% of the time. It's just been really cool. Again, I meet people from around the country, meet people from around the world. I'm taking people out after this from Quebec, Canada.
Hey, there you
And when
go.
a lot of people are seeing the desert for the first time too. I've had people do sunrise hikes, so we start in the dark, and all of a sudden they're like, it's starting to get light. I'm like, hey, there's a cactus right there, and realize that they've never seen cactus before. Like, yeah, there's lots of them. Give it about 10 or 15 minutes. It's super cool. It's like if I went to like the pyramids or something like that, for the first time, they're seeing this stuff and they're like kid in the candy store. So yeah,
Right.
it's really rewarding. I'm helping them do it safely too. So I'll freeze water bottles in the warmer weather. We don't go out in the daytime during the warmer months, but I'll freeze water bottles when it's warm, electrolytes. I'll bring extra hats, whatever. If it's cold, I'll bring an extra jacket. I want to make sure they're 100% comfortable and safe. Um, Whether it's heat or, um, in general. But yeah, it's been really great. So I've been doing it since November 2021. So really, almost 4 years. Um, yeah, and I work for destination management companies too, which help large corporations and companies that come into the valley here. Tourism's like our number one thing here in Arizona, right? So we help with logistics, transportation. We do dinner parties, airport arrivals, many different things. So I'm in the tourism industry now. I'm in the customer service industry. And that's what I was in the food service too. I just happened to sell food before. Now I'm just selling my passion.
Well, I mean, you couldn't ask for more than that. I mean, your personality, the way you are around people, just uh, very opening, inviting. You perfect trail guide, perfect tour
Thank
guide.
you.
I I couldn't imagine a better guy to take you around who knows the ropes and all about what you just discussed. Electrolytes, water, what do you need, what do you not need?
I
If you
get
can
paid.
survive
I get paid
250
too.
miles in the desert, you can take someone on a hike.
So when I teach people, like I teach without preaching recovery, I teach people how to live in the moment. Like in recovery, we can't think too far in the future or beat ourselves up for the past. All we have is right here, right now. So like whether it's in a 250-mile race or a 5K, all you can control is what you're doing right now. So when people, like kids or even adults, are sitting there like scrolling through their phone or like they want to post something right away. Like enjoy this, and also watch out. There's a lot of sharp rocks sticking out of the ground and cactus on the side of the trail. The desert has a way of keeping you in the present moment. So I'll tell
Yes.
them, be careful, be careful, be careful. Everything's venomous, everything's sharp and pokey. And if they don't really listen, I'll say, you put your phone away. You don't want to break your phone on vacation. And again, I put it in the pocket. Yeah, I don't want to break my phone. And that gets them back in the present moment. But I'll do different things like we look for heart-shaped rocks or, try and find something that's moving. Everything blends in the desert, right? Everything's camouflaged. So I'm teaching them how to be in the present moment without even them realizing. So,
Yeah,
yep,
that's
it's
really
been fun.
cool. I mean, it's because I know when I go on vacation, I've got my camera out, my phone out, I'm taking pictures and posting stuff. That's a great reminder, right? Put your phone away.
Like
Enjoy it while you're here.
there's plenty of time for pictures for ups and we stop along the way and I'll point out things, but like if you're sitting there and like taking a million photos of yourself with the sunset, you're not even watching the sunset, like what's the point? You missed it. It's like the people
Yeah.
that video record their kids in the concert. They're in the My son plays the tuba and there's people that are like videotaping like that and taking pictures of the video in the back of someone's hand or their head. Like, you're never going to go back and watch that. You're missing your damn kids. You're not here. You're not
Yeah, you're
present.
missing the
So
actual moment, right?
you are
The actual
missing the
happening
concert.
of it.
Yeah. There's your
Yeah.
kid. He's waving to you.
Well, yeah, right. Hey, I also towards our end of our conversations on the podcast, I like to give people the opportunity to talk about anything that they have coming up. Um, Shout out anybody, a race you have coming up, an adventure, really anything in life. I mean, who knows? It might be another book you're working on. I don't know. But what's Henry got going on these days, or what are you looking forward to in the future that you're working on?
So I don't have any races per se signed up. I signed up for a race in the fall. I might do like one of the time races here, 6, 12, or 24 hours. But I've really enjoyed the family time in the summer and then training like quality over quantity. So I do a lot more like power and speed work. I cross train at the gym and I'll do like hill sprints. Sounds boring, but on the treadmill and then speed work at track on Wednesdays. Real specific stuff to get ready for like the winter. That's when I'm doing like the try to qualify for Boston and Mesa Marathon quad, and then they just announced an Arizona marathon. I'll do that in December. So that's really my season of races. I do less races now than I used to, um, and my family's always first. So I'm looking forward to being on vacation with my family. Like we'll probably go to Mexico for 3 or 4 weeks and spend that time, and then
Nice.
just do my the quality over quantity training. Yeah, like with the exception, I might sign up for a timed race, and that's it really. Um, I am working on a picture book, so
Right
I would
on.
like to, with all the different cactus flowers and the beautiful things we see on the trail. People keep saying, you should write a book. You should do a calendar. You should do a picture book. Da 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 da. And like, it's kind of like when I went to culinary school. People kept eating my food and like, you should go to culinary school. Like, fine, I'll do it if you stop nagging me. Um, and I just do right now. I work a lot. So I work a lot. I spend a lot of time with my family, like my son and my wife, and I sleep 6 or 7 hours hopefully every night. Tonight I'll get like three. Um, and I train when I can. I go to the gym every day and I run when I can. It doesn't really leave much time for anything else. My schedule's a little bit all over the place, and I just, life's about choices. I choose to do those things, and if I want to train more, I want to do a big race, then it's going to take away from those things. So for now, I'm just doing quality over quantity and get ready for next year. Um, yeah, and just to enjoy. And so I enjoy each run. Like before every run, I'm gonna get like 20 miles and 30. I used to get back-to-back long runs every weekend, um, and now I just don't have the time to do it. Or again, it's about choices. So I enjoy the 8 miles that I did with my dog the other day, or I enjoy just a recovery run at South Mountain on Monday night. I just go with like the super fun group. I don't have any goal in mind, even start my watch. Just go out there and share some laughs with people and maybe motivate some people along the way.
Well, I think it's safe to say that any group run Henry's on is the super fun group run. It doesn't.
If you like, if you're not having fun, what's the point? Like
Right.
every run would have to be like less than 8 minute miles, just to throw a number out there. And if I didn't, like this is early on in my running, I would beat myself up. Like I'm getting slower, I've peaked, I'm washed up. And I wasn't taking any pictures. I really wasn't having a good time. And so like once I stopped and kind of threw the watch out the window, like I'll get specific workout like the speed workouts and I want to nail my times, but other runs should be fun, just zone two, whatever. So that's why I take so many pictures. I try to document and I try to remember to stop and smell the cactus or whatever, to stop and take pictures of the cactus, stop, take pictures of people or whatever comes up in the adventure, to document the day. Every day is an adventure, right? And if you're just kind of locked in that looking at the watch thing, and you're missing out on a lot too. It's a pretty beautiful state out here. Even just running in a city, you see so much on foot. Um, I think it's cool to stop and enjoy it too.
Yeah. No, I agree. I have a friend I follow on Strava, and she's so incredibly fast. She wouldn't say she is, and she's such a strong runner. But what I think is so what powerful is she'll post the most beautiful floral pictures from her run. And you realize, like, even though she's going pretty fast and on like a 9 or 8 mile run, she slows down when she sees something beautiful and she captures it. You know
Like
what I
it's
mean?
it's
Like,
okay to it's okay to stop. If someone's gonna judge me for that,
yeah, but
like oh
she'll
my
do it.
god, even like if I average 10 and a half minutes per mile in a 7 mile run. If someone's gonna judge me for stopping and taking pictures of a lizard, a cactus, or a fire hydrant, or whatever it is, like screw.
Yeah, who cares?
Who cares? Who cares?
I just think it's a great reminder. Why are you going out in these beautiful environments if you're not going to enjoy it and then really soak it in? You know, who
Like
cares
if you're
about the
not
Strava
reaping the
segment?
men if you're not yeah, like if you're not mentally, physically, and spiritually benefiting from most runs, then you're missing out. Like you're not in the present moment. You're stressing over your time, or you're stressing over something else, or you're thinking about something else. Um, yeah, I when I'm in the present moment, I fall down less. I don't trip over any rocks. I see so much more. Like I think it's fascinating that like I can do the same trail. Like we do this. I did the Sunset Trail the other night and the night before. One night I found two heart-shaped rocks. Another one I found 30. Why? Nobody placed the rocks there. They were there. Maybe just someone kicked it at just a
Wow,
slightly different angle, or whatever. But like, how come some days I'm like locked in? Like because I'm in the moment. I'm really in the moment. I'm locked in the moment. Um, yeah, most runs I don't regret.
I love it. That's I think if you could title this podcast based off of your story and based off of what you shared, it's just live in the moment, right? Don't live in the past, don't live in the future. Just, I mean, plan for the future, but you really got to just enjoy where you're at, what you're doing today, and that's at least for me, that's how I found most enjoyable parts of life is just really soaking in what's happening now.
And sometimes people can be capable of remembering the last run they had, and if they didn't have a very good run, maybe it was a little extra hot, maybe you didn't sleep that well, they can beat themselves up. Like, just squash it and just go out again a couple days later. Um, yeah, just try again.
I love it. Well, Henry, I know you've got a guided tour coming up, but I did want to, as we tail this off, as to show my gratitude for all my guests coming on, I'm going to send you a gift from Death March Running Company. It's my favorite ultra brand, so I'll get that sent out to you. I may or may not have your address. I have picked something up from your house before, so I'll go ahead and get that mailed out to you just to show you that how grateful I am for you jumping on. Um,
Thank you so much.
but Yeah, you bet. I did want to give you a chance to close it out. Anything you wanted to share?
Yeah, like
Anything left that you think you wanted to let the listeners hear about?
yeah, just a few more things. Like people will say like oh, do you run the marathon? No, I only ran the half marathon. Well, 13.1 miles is still pretty far. Give yourself credit. And people will say like I'm not much of a runner. Like if you run, you're a runner. Like I don't think of myself as much of a writer, but I wrote a couple books. I'm a writer. You're doing more than most people. And, like in a race, in a distance, the longer you go, the more things can go wrong. But know that, like, things can turn around too. You got to have patience and have faith, and you got to make good decisions. Um, don't just give up. Like when things get really, really hard in a run or in life too, right? Know that you've been through worse. Like I can always like go back to my addiction days. Like I'm in a race. Like this is nothing. I paid money for this. I signed up for this. Everybody has a reason to run. I can go back to back to the addiction days and have been went through way worse than this knee pain, quad pain, tired feet, whatever it is, nausea. I had some real, real hard times, and that's kind of my superpower. I think everybody kind of has their superpower. Yeah, you always have more. You just got to take the next right step forward, the next action step. And I believe in the progression. I believe the human body is really incredible. Like, I started out with the 8K and then, was doing mostly 5Ks. I had the desire, like, to do the people say, like, how long are you going to do this stuff? Like, it's a gift. I'll do it as long as I can. If I didn't use my gift, that'd be kind of selfish or whatever. But the first, if you want to do an ultra, like the first step, or a marathon or a half marathon, whatever, to start running, first step is to have the desire to do it. Second is like to commit to it, like sign up for a race or a training plan or get a coach. The third is to execute, right? Just put a plan together. Actually, third is to plan it out, and then fourth is to execute and improvise on the fly, make good decisions. It can be done. Like the ultra distance is hard, marathon distance is hard, 5K is hard, but like you're going slower, you're just doing things longer. It can be done. I'm a testament to that. And
Yeah,
if I can get sober, I think anybody can. If I could run, anybody can too. Pretty much anybody. Um,
I love it.
yeah, and
That's
then
a
people in the back of
that's
the
a
pack are
great.
badass because they endure longer.
Yeah,
Seriously.
I hope that that's true because that's usually where I am.
Well, like someone says, "Oh my God, like you had a really good time. You were really fast." Like, well, you finished in, it took you long. It took you 10 hours longer than I did. Like, that's amazing. You were just out there under the sun longer. You're out there under the rain longer, under the snow longer, under the mud longer. You were on your feet longer. You were awake longer. Everything was longer, and that's pretty awesome. That's amazing. You endured longer.
Yeah, I think that's a great closing statement that you shared. Um, I personally want to thank you for sharing your story. I feel reignited to go out there and follow my passion and keep doing the things that I love and also spending more time with my loved ones and focusing on what's important. So I really appreciate your message. I think it resonates with just about everybody. Um, I'll go ahead and also link to your books that you mentioned and also your Instagram so people can well Facebook really is where I follow you so people can follow along too because I find motivation in your posts. I love how you share all the old memories and those messages those don't go unnoticed at least by me. I really enjoy them so I appreciate you
Thank you.
always sharing that stuff out.
Thanks, Christian.
Well, we'll let you go so you can get to your guided hike, and hopefully you find some heart-shaped rocks and some fun stuff to take pictures of.
No doubt we will. And the sunset.
All right. Yeah, hey,
Right on, Christian.
that's
Thank you.
even better.
Thanks for
Well, I
having me
appreciate
on.
it, Henry. Thank you so much. Have a good night. See ya.
Thank you. You too.